Go share the desktop. So I'm going to have the agenda over here on the right. So we're probably going to use that for opening details. All right, so Andrew, I guess we need to call this officially to order, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so it being a little bit past 6:30 on Monday, April 6th, I'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission to order. Thanks for everybody joining us virtually while we work through this interesting, time that we're in. We'll start off with 21 Shagbark Road. And Peter, that's you?
What's up, guys? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Do you want me to pull up the plan?
If you don't mind, sure.
Great. Okay, and where would you like me to zoom in on first?
We can start with the big picture, I guess. Let's see.
Where's my zoom? There we go.
That should be all right there.
Okay.
So again, this is a little different, but for the record, Peter Lyons with Collins Engineering Group, representing the homeowner for a RDA for a septic repair. Start with a quick overview of the property. It's a little less than an acre lot. We have a stream across the street associated with some drainage. Shown right about the front property line is our 100-foot inner riparian limit, and the 200-foot line cuts just behind the back of the house. The proposal is to replace the existing septic components in the front yard, abandoning and eliminating the tank in the old leaching area. Due to high groundwater, we're looking at a elevated pump system on the eastern portion of the property, approximately 129 feet from the head wall, being the edge of the resource area. With this one, we've provided erosion control paralleling Shagbark Road to prevent any migration of materials towards the drainage areas and associated wetlands. Also, silt sacks have been proposed in the catch basins. We show our standard dewatering pit detail in a location just next to the proposed tanks in the front yard. What else? We will be taking down some trees. It's about 140 feet off the wetlands. We got to take out a cluster of trees to accommodate the leaching area. The tanks are going in existing lawn. No real grade changes there. Pretty straightforward septic repair. If anyone has any questions, we can take them one at a time.
Sure, I was just going to, there we go, here, and just pull up the staff report so we can see if there's any commentary here. Did you got a copy of the staff report, Peter?
I honestly have not, but you got it right here.
Okay.
It was sent to George Collins this morning.
Okay. All right, so it just came in today. All right, so recommendation: the project as proposed should have no impact on the jurisdictional areas, and the commission may decide to issue a negative determination. Leaching field location noted in this picture here. Always helpful to have the pictures.
So I think what Peter, for next week, I'm going to need if you could send me your email directly, I'll make sure it goes directly to you instead of to George's email.
Sure. Yeah. Typically he forwards me, but I did not receive these.
Right. I apologize for that. I'll just send it to me through my work address, and I'll have it straightened out for next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. I guess I'll open it up. Rory, do you have any comments, questions?
So the only question I have is probably for Andrea. This intermittent stream that's across the street, which is really sort of appears to be some sort of drainage, that actually goes into a drainage pipe that goes underneath the street. Is that correct? Is I'm reading plans right?
That is correct. That is correct. At the very top of the screen, you can see a head wall. It's a perpendicular line. And
Sure,
that's where the stream is open. So it's culverted under the street, and then it opens up into what is colloquially called a drainage ditch.
But it actually flows not from the street, but to the street. Is that correct?
Yeah, and then it goes, it actually does, you're right. That's what the plan is showing.
Yeah, so that head wall is an inlet, and then it's basically diverted around our property via underground drainage.
Yeah. Okay.
It
wanted to
does to the north. Yep, to the northwest is the heading out of the manhole.
Got it.
When Claire Hugelboom did the review, she conservatively called it a type 2 intermittent stream with a 50-foot no touch zone associated with it. It's on the first page. It's item number 3. So we literally have all erosion controls taken care of, with the street itself acting as a buffer.
I'm good otherwise.
All right, yeah, I'm good too. Carol, anything?
Nothing to add.
All right, Michael?
Same, nothing to add.
John?
Nothing to add.
All right, great. Any comment from the public in the, I guess, what are they, the
Waiting room?
What's it called?
We're calling it the waiting room. The attendees. I can't see my screen. So your co-host, Stefan, if you have to look at the attendees and see if anybody's raising their hands, I guess, or chatting.
I don't see anybody raising their hands.
Okay.
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 There we go, attendees. All right, yeah, I don't see anybody raising their, all right, there we go. I'm gonna put that over to the side now. Thank you very much, Rory. Okay, great. Peter, would you like to close?
Yes, please.
All right, motion to close and issue a negative determination of applicability for 21 Shagbark.
Roll call vote, please.
Aye, or second.
Okay, so we got a second from, oh, Mike, so I guess,
Yep.
yeah, for the roll call, we just need to state our name and then the, a second, and then we'll do names and votes.
Okay, so Mike Spady, a second.
All right, all those in favor?
Paul Fells, aye.
Lundin,
Spady.
aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Catino, aye. All right. Good times. So that's number 1. In the books.
6:47,
Making history.
3 minutes ahead. Woohoo!
All right, great. So 19 Howard, is that also you, Peter?
Yes, sir.
All right. Rolling right through. Let me pull that one up. Staff report.
In all of these cases, the abutter notification cards have been posted to the application prior to the start of the meeting. So we are good to go. In all these cases, I'm saying it now.
Great. Thank you, Andrea. All right. Is that a good view to start, Peter?
Perfect.
All right. Why don't you go ahead and take us through this project?
Cool. Again, for the record, Peter with Collins Engineering Group. This is 19 Howard Street. We have a notice of intent for a septic repair. The existing system is in the backyard. That's to be decommissioned. A quick overview of the property. If it's kind of light on this screen, but up towards the north property line, we have a mean high water line of a stream indicated. The 100-foot buffer pretty much cuts through the wetland flags and the tree line. Yeah. So there's our 100.
The green line that's a little hard to see. That's the wetland line, and the blue line is that 100-foot to the stream.
Correct. Yep. So basically, that's what we got for resource areas, both to the north, I would say. So our plan is to come out of the back of the house, provide a new septic tank and pump chamber, and pump it up to an elevated leaching bed in the front. The front left corner, or the southeast, you could call it, is the only place out of the 200-foot stream jurisdiction. So the tanks had to be placed inside due to gravity and the existing topography of the site. But we were able to keep the leaching area totally outside the 100-foot buffer, or the 200-foot to the riverfront, and also the 100-foot wetland buffer. This one, we do have erosion control circling the entire project, starting at the bulkhead, wrapping around the decommissioned septic components, and then ending up at the street line. We also show conservation posts to be installed more or less along the existing fence in the rear yard. We show details for those on the plan. I'm just trying to look at my notes here. We do show a soil stockpile area and a dewatering location, both outside of the 200-foot riverfront and 100-foot wetland buffers. We're also contending with an irrigation well in the front yard, which in this case, is kind of working with the wetlands to push us away. So we're not really fighting a balance between those. Basically, we're looking at the most compliant septic repair we can come up with. Again, the tanks have to be where they are. The site topography and the existing plumbing at the house. Bleaching's going out front. That's a rundown. Any questions?
Yeah, did you guys end up with a DEP number?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we've got the DEP number. I guess the one comment that they had in the staff report was that there was some recently placed landscape debris between wetland flag 6 and 7. So we'll want to note as a perpetual condition. We'll ask them to clean that up, and a perpetual condition of no dumping any material beyond the existing black chain link fence.
Yep, I think that's fair.
Okay. Aside from that, yeah, it looks like you tucked it about as far away as you could from everything, which is great. Big improvement over what's there now. So I think I'm good. Rory, anything?
All good.
Carol?
All good.
Michael?
All good.
John?
No comments.
All right. Any comments from the public? Seeing none. All right. Motion. So I guess you'd like to close, Peter?
Yes, please.
All right. And this is an RDA? No, notice of intent. All right. Motion to issue permit to work. Motion to close, issue permit to work in order of conditions for 19 Howard Street, Easton file number E1599, with the conditions noted in the staff report dated March 20th, 2020, around debris and not dumping debris beyond the black chain link fence.
John Thomas, second.
All right. All those in favor?
Spady, aye.
Carl Fells, aye.
Lundin, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Catino, aye. All right. Thanks, Peter, on that one.
Thank
Are you
you.
up, are you up next too?
Oh yeah, keep them
All
coming.
right. 47 Norton Ave. Let's get that going.
Another septic upgrade.
Hey, when the going's tough, you got to upgrade your septic.
Yep.
All right. Here. All right, Peter, go ahead and take us through this one.
All right. This one is another notice of intent for a septic repair in an existing system at 47 Norton Ave. You see the stone wall in the back of the property. Just beyond that is a mean high water delineation of a stream and the associated wetland flags, and the 50-foot, 100-foot, and 200-foot buffers are shown paralleling out from there. The 100-foot wetland buffer, which is also the inner riparian zone, basically cuts through the back of the house. So inside of that, we will be decommissioning the existing septic tank and abandoning the existing leaching area in place. Similarly to the last one, it'll be a pump system So we're placing a septic tank in a pump chamber and then pumping up to an elevated leaching bed in the front yard. This is the main purpose of this is to push it as far away as possible, which you can see we're doing. We're tight up to the front lot line, basically as far as we can be from the stream. With the leaching as well as the tanks, we show soil stockpile areas approximately 130 feet from the stream. The whole project is encompassed by the dark dashed line being the erosion control, which will adequately prevent any soil migration towards the resource areas. There'll be a little bit of trees coming out in the northwestern edge of the leaching field. The tanks are going to be placed in existing lawn. No topographic changes in the rear of the house. All those pipes will be buried flush, going back to existing lawn and cleaned up. We just have the erosion control surrounding that to help with the decommissioning of the old tanks and running the new lines. That's about it. Along the tree line in the back, we show conservation posts. We also show the details for those on the plan. We have 4 proposed at the existing tree line, edge of lawn. I'll take any questions.
I think I'm good. Rory?
No questions.
Carol?
No questions.
Michael?
All set, no questions.
John?
No comments.
Great. Let me just get the address right. Any public comment on 47 Norton Ave?
I want to comment that this is classified as a type 2 intermittent stream.
Mhm.
And he's holding his conservation medallions at the edge of existing lawn. He's also got some erosion control in the catch basins in the street. And I think Peter, you have a limit of work, or is that a stone wall along the Norton Street?
That is a stone wall.
Okay, so that'll act to hold the leaching pit disturbed area off, keep that soil off of Norton Avenue.
Yep, and it's a very flat site. The leaching area is the low end of the site, so between the stone wall and the erosion control, everything would basically be going towards that 111.5 spot grade, which is protected by our erosion control setup.
Great. All right, looks good to me. Motion to close, issue permit to work and order of conditions for 47 Norton Ave, Easton number 1E1601.
With the conditions in the staff report?
Yeah, with the conditions in the staff report dated March 20th, 2020. Thank you.
Thomas, second.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor? And maybe let's go in order. Maybe we'll do Rory, Carol, Michael, John.
Copeland's aye.
Blondine, aye.
Mike, aye.
John, aye.
Catino, aye. Great. Thanks, guys. All right, 169 Prospect Street.
I guess that's me too.
All right. Let's see. Okay, so this is a request for certificate of compliance. Let's see, staff report. What else is going to be good here? As built?
As built plan. And there'll be photographs that you might have to give me the screen for that
Okay.
when time comes.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Peter.
All right, yeah, we're here for this one for a request for certificate of compliance relative to a septic repair. Let's see, the septic was installed in the front yard, 2 tanks over to an elevated leaching bed in the side of the property. We had conservation posts installed around the existing tree line as shown. Looks like there were also blueberry plantings scattered around the property in what we're showing as 3 locations, at the edge of lawn and at the medallion locations. To my understanding, this is in compliance. I have not been out to this site in a while, so if anyone has any other comments, I'd be willing to hear them.
All right, I guess looking at the staff report, it looks like the restoration, plantings, and relocation of the shed has not been completed yet.
That was older.
Okay.
And it turned out that they actually had relocated the shed. They just didn't show it in. They didn't show it on the plan as relocated. So this is a revised plan since the staff report was put in. And those blueberry shrubs were just planted in the last week. There are 3 groups of 3. And George Collins himself sent me an email that he went out to the site, that the work was just done over the last week, and he was at the site at the end of last week and observed the blueberry bushes.
Great.
All right. Well, we're on the topic of the blueberry bushes, if I may. I had a look at those, and Andrea, I sent you photos of a couple of them.
Yes, if you want to switch the screen,
Sure.
I'll show you the pictures you gave me. I may only be able to, 2 of them. I should be able to show them both.
Let's see, you show up as Town of Easton.
I show as the town of Easton.
Can I give you control, or do I just need to pass it back to you?
I don't want to control your screen. I want you to drop your screen so that I can share mine.
Stop share.
Okay.
Can you do yours now?
Yep.
Okay.
Very cool. Okay. Okay, everybody turn their head to the side. Can you see it? Okay.
So what we're seeing here is one of the blueberry bushes. One way to see how well they were planted was to give the very base of the stems a little tug, and 2 of them came right out of the ground with no effort whatsoever. So I don't know what we have for specs as far as, okay, they're planted, but how well do they have to be planted? My opinion is that at least 2 of them were really poorly planted, giving the bushes a much lower chance of success than another minute of planting prep would have fixed. And then I don't know, did we have specs for the sizes of these? Because they're kind of no higher than from the bottom of my shoe to the top of my knee.
We didn't, and these are displaying much smaller than have been put out in other cases. So we were not specific on this project. I apologize for that.
Yes, these are baby high bush blueberries.
Babies. We do have as a continuing condition, we do have as a condition that they have 75% success rate. So you can continue that. You can give them either a partial and require the monitoring for the next 2 growing seasons.
Yeah, so they need
Success rate.
7 of the 9 to survive to meet that. So if they've got 2 already that are out the gate as improbable. So I don't know if they want to. I mean, I'm okay. I mean, it's basically they have to meet the hurdle, so they're already going to be probably 2 behind. So they might want to address that just on their own accord.
If you'd like me to send a cover letter that's more explicit than usual about replanting these, just tell me what to put in it.
Yeah, I think we can just, again, because we weren't specific on this one, we can address it that way. If they want to have a better chance of meeting that 75% hurdle down the line, they might want to just think about replanting those couple and doing a better job.
So the backstory here is that the house has sold and the money is in escrow with the new owner. So there's protection for the,
I mean, I don't want to hold up a sale. They planted them. I'm just saying this is almost like a heads up to them. Like, hey, you have to meet this hurdle. Our horticulturalist is telling us that, you know, you're basically already not, you know, putting yourself in peril of not meeting that unless these couple bushes are, you know, replanted properly. And then we just need to do a better job of specifying going forward, I guess.
for the future, Carol, what size would be appropriate? We talk about sometimes gallon plants for
Sure, yeah, we talk about the caliper, you know.
caliber trees.
Yep, or, you know, I usually talk about the biggest one available in a pot. That's not too specific.
Right. I have no way to verify that.
Yeah, we can, you know, ask that they be, you know, some number of feet tall, not counting the root ball. So, you know, maybe something like, I mean, I'm not opposed to putting in small plants. They have a good success rate, but they're, you know, it doesn't matter what size plant you bring in if it's not planted properly. What's the point?
Yeah. Okay.
More, you know, more cost and more effort the bigger the plantings are.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So I'm okay issuing the certificate of compliance, and you know, and just sending the memo, basically knowing that, hey, you guys might want to address these couple plants and take better care in replanting them if you want to, you know, meet your hurdle down the line.
How does that escrow get addressed if there is no
actually,
further action?
That's between the buyer and the seller. I'm just aware that the sale has gone through, and the buyer has an escrow account established to protect the.
And I guess I should, let me revise that. I'd say a partial COC because we'd issue a final after they meet the 75% over how many growing seasons did we say?
Would 2 be sufficient in this case?
Sure.
Okay. Rory, you have anything else to add?
No, we've addressed all my concerns. Thank you.
Okay, Michael?
I'm good.
John?
None for me, thank you.
Okay, great. Peter, is that all agreeable for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Carol, anything else you wanted to add, or is that good?
I think we're good.
Okay. So any public comments on 169 Prospect Street? Seeing none. Motion to issue a partial certificate of compliance for 169 Prospect Street, noting that the wetland line is not approved and should not be used for any other permits. Special condition number 5 in the order of conditions, that we'll consider a final certificate of compliance once the 75% success rate of the plantings has been met over 2 growing seasons. And that condition number 45, removing any debris in the wetlands, should continue as a perpetual condition. And I believe that should do it.
What about the agent's comments? Number 5.
At the time, the markers weren't in place and the shed wasn't moved. Is that the comment?
No, that you're talking about number 6. I'm talking about number 5.
Yeah, I guess they'll have to meet that to get the final CSE. Right. So I guess I'll amend that motion to just include, just to highlight that special condition number 23 continues.
Well, continues, or they need to provide that before the CO issue.
So yeah, so by continues, my intent is that they need to provide a final report confirming successful replication shall be submitted to the commission prior to the issuance of a final certificate of compliance.
Okay.
All right, can I get a second?
Spady a second.
All right, Rory, you want to start us off? All those in favor?
Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Catino, aye. All right.
Partial. Okay. Thank you very much, Peter.
All right. That's all I have for you.
You did the
Awesome. Thanks, man.
engineer. You did things short and sweet. We gave you your complete at 7:10, and for 4 hearings.
Awesome.
Score.
Man, stay
Well,
healthy.
remember that the next time you come in.
Good luck with the rest of them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take it easy. Have a good night.
So,
next.
good night, Peter. So,
Bye.
we don't have we're on a scheduled agenda. So the next agenda item is 7:35 with Holgren Engineering. If you'd like to take a moment to talk about the environmental planner updates,
Yeah, sure.
go into business, or accept outstanding minutes. Do we have any minutes, Keith?
We do.
I don't remember seeing any minutes.
He included them in his email from the.
Yeah, there were 2 sets, Andrea. One from March 9th and one from February 18th. The Sawmill Village hearing had to be approved by conservation.
How do they look, Rory?
Ha ha. So I have no comments on the February 18th. Make a motion to accept February 18th as written.
Catino, second. All those in favor?
Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Catino, aye.
3-9. I only glanced at the ones that I had to sign my Mullins on, so I don't know if there's anything else.
I didn't have anything on it. Anybody else?
Nope.
Nothing? All right. What was that, March 9th, Rory, you said?
March 9th.
All right. Motion to accept the minutes for March 9th.
Caulfield second.
All those in favor?
Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Catino, aye.
We may just do these remotely all the time.
No. Pretty efficient so far.
Okay, so on to environmental planner updates. The in town hall's closed. You probably knew that. The 2 things that Conservation Commission provides are the conservation trails that remain open, and the community garden, which is over at Wheaton Farm, and have every intention of keeping it open. Gotten a lot of good reaction from people about how it's nice to be able to have that opportunity. They seem to be large enough that they can maintain social distancing. So under the normal times, as soon as the land is able to be tilled, the community garden would open, which is around mid-April. I don't know that it will be any later this year. So if you're okay with that, I'm still going forward with the community garden. I have made a note on my out of office mail for people out of the organization to take a look at the Easton Trails map. And I will be also putting that up on the town's website for municipal services, because the conservation trails in town on the conservation lands are less crowded than borderlands, so it's a good time to use that map.
Yeah, it's a great map, but I guess we should just note that, you know, I talked with Andrea about this because, you know, we saw that the trustees had closed down some of their properties, and there, you know, there are some other municipalities closing properties, and we kind of left it up to the, you know, I forget what the exact name for the group is in town, but basically the emergency response team, which I think is like Connor Reed, Chief Partridge, and some others. And Andrea, they were okay keeping it open, correct? As long as we, you know, emphasize the social distancing.
Yeah, I spoke with Connor Reed, and he said yes to the community garden and yes to the trails.
I would add that the trails have gotten quite a bit busier. You know,
Oof,
much,
have they ever?
yeah, they're very heavily used now compared to you know, more recent history.
Okay.
So I wonder if it might be a benefit to put up a little signage to remind folks to distance.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we're working on that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
We had.
And I don't know if we can work this in there, but like, especially if anybody's doing any high intensity working out, to give like extra buffer. I know like the standard, you know, if you're just walking by people is like 6 feet, but if you're sweating and huffing and puffing, you might want to give people an even wider berth because, well, it's just, you know, more that you're putting out there. And I don't know if we can somehow succinctly word that too.
Yeah, also, I'd like to add carrying in and out of your waste because
Yes.
I've seen a lot of littering and that's
Good
can be contaminated. But I mean, it's just disrespectful. If you're going to use the land and go enjoy it, please, you know, care about it. This is not a mall.
Yep, it's not a dump.
Good one.
No.
Yeah. So
Good
maybe
point.
a carry in, carry out reminder.
Yeah, especially with like the dog bags, you know, for their waste. Well, like, throw them away, or just let the dog go to the bathroom and it will clean itself up on its own.
Get the forums fired up again.
I can
Killing me.
in my Mass DP water quality monitoring days, I can tell you that the standard is you have to pick up your waste within 300 feet of a surface water body.
There you go.
Yeah, you should pick it up. You should pick it up everywhere, but you got to pick it up within 300 feet of a water body, and that's a lot of.
That's everywhere.
It's a lot
Pretty much.
of our lands.
Yeah.
Certainly the entire trustee property at Governor Ames.
So I guess can we? Did we hear anything from 58 Mill?
Yeah, let me just get one more thing. Yes, we did. They asked to continue to the 27th, and I will tell you the reminder that I sent to them. But do you mind if I just ask one more question about processing these decisions?
Go ahead.
So we're doing remote meetings. We're approving projects tonight. We have to issue projects. We have to issue the decisions. Decisions usually come signed by all 5 members. That's awkward in the current situation. I spoke to, there was a law that just passed on Friday, Chapter 53 of the Acts of 2020, which gives local permitting authorities like yourselves the ability to waive the permit requirements for permit timelines for all project timelines through all phases of the project. We have to accept all applications submitted electronically with but the 21-day deadline to schedule a hearing has been waived to as long as the hearing is scheduled within 45 days after the termination of the state of emergency. That 45-day window after the termination of the state of emergency is true for all actions. The way I read the state law, that means that you can continue hearings. You, the chair, can choose to continue hearings without a quorum during this period of time, or you can have them go forward. It's your choice. The decisions do not have to be issued within 21 days, but I do need to have signatures. And so I spoke to town council about that this afternoon, Stefan, and he said that if the board, by roll call, delegates the chair and myself as to administer the issuance of the decisions, then the chair, actually, the chair or myself, your choice, have a signed decision. Town council will give us an affidavit that acknowledges that as a board, you gave the delegation to one or two parties. That will be signed, notarized, recorded, and then included with every decision going forward during the state of emergency. So you have two choices going forward. You can allow projects to proceed. You can choose not to schedule as late as 45 days after the termination of this. You can do either or. And then once you choose to close, as you did in a number of cases here, if you choose as a board to delegate to Stefan and myself, we'll administer getting it out under, and it'll only have one signature. I said that this bill speaks to all phases of the application. The decision doesn't need to be recorded while the registry is closed to public access. I'm actually saying to engineers, why don't you record it, since you can do it electronically while you're thinking about it, because that's a really easy thing to forget to do. But the law says you don't have to record until the registry opens again. Bristol County North does allow electronic filings. The construction permit can be issued before the order conditions is recorded. So these projects can go forward. That's the way the law is written. I'll tell you that in my view, that's a little less protection for the public permitting body, because we'll have to hold on to our copy so that we can enforce against it. And there'll probably be a little effort on our part to make sure everything gets recorded at the end of this. So there's a little bit of a risk there if people go forward without recording their documents. It's a little bit of a risk on our part, but the governor gave it to them.
But we can mitigate that risk.
The construction period continued.
Oh, sorry.
This tolling period means the construction period has 3 years plus this period of time. And any conditions that would have come due, in the month of May, we'll have this tolling period added on. So everything this is just a period that doesn't exist in government time. So I'm asking for a vote of delegation of signatures, long story short. And I will give you when the town council has a chance to give us guidance on what I just told you, I thought it said, I'll make sure that gets posted to all of you.
Okay, I'm good with it.
I make a motion to delegate signing authority for decisions to Andrea Langhauser and Stefan Coutinho.
Lundin, second.
Spadia, second. I mean, aye.
Thomas, I. We did this last, like a few nights ago in town of Sharon, so I'm very.
Oh, great.
Colfels, aye.
Lundin, aye.
And do I have to just abstain from this vote? Because
No, you got to vote.
okay, all right, Coutinho, aye.
Thank you very much. Those are my comments on the state of emergency. Did you want to go to 58 Mill?
Yeah, Rory, did you want to throw a little continuation motion on there?
I have a different motion. I don't think we want to do that.
I can tell you that he got an email from me and from Keith, both individually, saying that the commission is not going to discuss the project until all information that has been requested has been submitted.
Motion to remove 58 Mill Street from the agenda until all information requested is received.
Callfeld, second.
All in favor?
Callfeld's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, I.
Pepino, aye. Okay. Any of the certificates of compliance that are down here have applicants going to be joining us, or can we roll through those?
You want to check the attendees to see if we're at 7:25?
Yeah, see them.
Oh,
It's just ECAT and EMI.
okay. Yeah, let's go to 418 is a good story, but
Want to throw host over? Sorry, screen sharing back over, or turn yours off and I'll turn mine back on, please. If you'd be so kind.
okay. These are timed. These are timed, so we might have to sit.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see what you mean.
it's on the agenda.
Not that anybody is going to come, but we might have to sit.
Good point.
Okay.
The perils of putting times on.
Well, it's our first hearing. How fast did it take me to do the updates? You can update the. Shush up. Sorry.
Let's see. That was about 15 minutes. All right. Well, I guess is there anything else we want to discuss while we're waiting here?
I'm just going to check out of the video for a couple minutes.
Okay.
Could I suggest one thing that might be able to be discussed?
Can't hear you, Keith.
Yes, could I suggest one thing that might be able to be discussed by the board?
Sure.
The time slotting process for the next meeting, since this is not working too well. Maybe we could all come to an agreement on how we want to run the next one.
Oh, as far as like putting a time next to the hearings?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we just get rid of the times because ideally we are as efficient as we've been tonight and we pop through them, you know, and maybe we, instead of putting, you know, specific times next to each one, maybe we just say we're going to limit them to 15 minutes. Or what do we do? 20?
15 would have been a long time for Paul Lyons.
Yeah.
Peter.
Peter. I have a friend, Paul Lyons. That's my apologies to him. I say it every time.
Let's see here. Yeah, maybe we just put at the top that public hearings will be kept to a, because what did we put? We put 20 minutes. A 20-minute maximum, and then they'll be, you know, shelved for the end of the meeting, just so we can move through things.
I mean, I think part of the issue is that we were trying to be considerate of the attendees and the applicants.
Yeah.
To not have to sit through everybody's stuff, but that's what they normally would do during a regular hearing. So maybe we bail on the timing part, and we just say, you know how long these things take. They can take 5 minutes or 55 minutes. It's hard to say.
Right. At least with Zoom, you can click a button and check in and see where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I would say get rid of the times and just put in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to put the engineers, group the engineers stuff together.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
If you want to give, if I share my screen, I can show you the the April 13th meeting agenda. We set this up before we realized that there was, okay, so I'm viewing Stefan's screen.
No, sorry, I don't have it. I was just seeing if I had it.
Okay.
Stop share, right back over to you.
Okay, so this agenda for the 13th has bigger projects on it.
Yeah.
There you go. The first project is a brand new house. The second, it's a pretty straightforward brand new house. The second one is a septic upgrade, 2 different engineers. The third project, the first continued hearing on Turnpike, is in Anrad for the mini golf place.
Andrew, you
Just
have
so
a
you know, we're
staff
looking at
report.
a staff report.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, whoa. It could be worse.
Hit cancel. Cancel.
Okay, okay. I lost, there's my screen. Okay, over there. Stop share. Okay, over here, share. This is a real test in my ability to not scream.
Well done. Oh, Scott's in the attendees section.
Oh, good. Okay. So here we go. Here's the 13th. I got 4 minutes. So can you see the agenda now?
Mhm.
We can go back to talk about this. Perhaps 222 is going to, the 810 one might continue, most likely, but the rest of them are likely to go forward if you give them that opportunity, and they're all different from each other. So stuff, maybe you just give us Stefan and I a chance to think about that. But it's a very different meeting night than this.
Yeah, it is. But I do think taking the times off, I mean, it just, that's tough.
How long do we expect that 560 Foundry to go? I mean, that thing, we could have, I assume this isn't going to be our final hearing on 560 Foundry. I haven't seen anything from them, but.
No, I spoke with him, and he anticipates a continuance. They did provide more information on March 16th that you haven't seen yet, but what it is the documentation that supports what they said at the first meeting. Honestly, they did not yet start to answer the bigger questions you asked of them at your first meeting on February 18th. And I think he's going to come in and ask you to elaborate the level of effort you want.
Okay, that's fine then. As long as we're not
continuing.
Yeah, as long as I want to continue the dialogue about what we want to know, because there's a lot of different issues to discuss there. Not just one. I mean, there's 2 or 3. I mean, we're filling in wetlands. We're doing all sorts of things on this thing. So
I gave him 3 big boys that looked like they were outstanding questions you had asked at the February 18th meeting, and he anticipates that.
Yeah, this is going to be that whole western side of that project is as I said in their initial, even just when they were doing the planning meeting with us, even before February 18th, where they came in and just presented this thing to us, that we discussed that was a big, lot of big issues there. So
keeping him to an hour will be hard, but Stefan, maybe you can think about where to put him on the agenda, given the other stuff. I assume you want all these to go forward for the 13th.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, the first 2 are septics. That should be pretty straightforward.
No, the first one is a new house.
Oh, yeah, right, new house. Okay, yep.
Then septic.
Then septic. Turnpike refiling. That's the driving range. I don't know. They're all interesting projects. So, maybe 82R. Do we have a feeling on how close they are?
I was told by the peer reviewer that she was going to submit probably on Friday, and she didn't. So she's pretty close to finishing up her report. We should have it by Wednesday. which is,
All right, so we can make a decision on that because maybe we slide 560 to the end of the continued hearings just because we know it's going to take a chunk of time.
mhm.
And 82R, yeah, I think we're closer to
Okay,
by a long shot
okay.
to wrapping that one up.
Okay, so none of them, so all of them are gonna move forward then, and we'll just work the timeline. Thank you so much for your guidance. I'm gonna stop sharing now so that
Okay.
we can bring on your, our buddy,
All right, so I'll promote him.
Scott. Scott, we're bringing you on.
Hi, Scott.
Promote to panelist. Oops. I think you and I are working at the same time.
Let's see. All right, he's in here as a panelist. Unmute. Hi, Scott. Are you there? Can you hear us?
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Let me just pull you guys up. Let's see. We're on 153 Chestnut, right? Yes.
This is an ANRAD, and all the abutter notifications have been received. It's the old tennis club.
All right, Scott, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself for the record, please, and then tell me where you'd like to start on the plan and take us through it.
Sure.
Or if you want remote control.
I don't have control here. Do you, did he mute?
No, he's not muted.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
Do I have control of the mouse yet or no?
Oh, no, hang on. Let me pop it over to you. There we go. Not highlighted. There we go. And Scott. And just so you know, in this viewer, the zoom is down at the bottom. You just hover over that middle section.
Okay. All right. For the record, my name is Scott Rogers, J.K. Holmgren Engineering. And the property that you're looking at on the screen tonight is for a 16.1 acre site known as plots 30A and 30B on the assessor's map. And this site is located about a half a mile or so north of Route 106, and it's off of Chestnut Street. And as Andrea had pointed out, the existing tennis club. So I want to kind of bring you, through the site. Control the mouse here. So starting at Chestnut Street down the bottom of the page, I'm going to blow this up a little bit for us. So we're driving down this driveway here. I'm kind of going to skip over the wetlands for right now, just bringing down the site features. And as you're driving down this relatively straight driveway, you'll see two buildings on the left-hand side here and some clay and some grass tennis courts on the left. Then you'll continue down the driveway past a lawn area and a little gravel parking area. You'll see a small house, another building here with a pool area located in this area right here. And if you would proceed a little bit further up the site to the north, there's some parking areas located here and here. And then the two main large buildings are located. You can see the large buildings over here on this side. So the plan is in color. You can see the colors. So we've used green for the bordering vegetative wetlands. We've used red to show the 50-foot buffer zones to those BVWs. We've shown an orange color for the 100-foot buffer zones. As far as BVWs, there are basically two main wetland systems. One that's located.
You zoom out a little bit so they can see the full side of the full size.
Yeah, I don't think I have control of the mouse anymore here.
You should have it back now, Scott. Try again, or here, let me try giving it to you again. There you go.
So up on the northeast corner of the site, we have a bordering vegetated wetland over here with wetlands flags that are shown with the numbering system 1 through 42, which runs along the eastern side of the site. You can see where the mouse is pointed right now. That's the only portion that's actually on the property. The rest is all off-site, but buffer zone impacts are obviously on our site because of those eastern wetlands, if you will. There's another large wetland system that basically runs along the northern boundary, all on the western boundary, and kind of comes back towards Chestnut Street on the south. And that is basically the A series, shown as, on my plan, shows as wetland flags A14 through A109. 14, I believe, is up here on the northern side. The numbers get larger as you head around towards the southern side. As far as intermittent streams, there is an intermittent stream located in the northeast corner of the property up here. That's an E series flag. And then there's basically one other intermittent stream that they've broken down into different channel sections, if you will. And there's 3 different channel sections for the second intermittent stream. We're calling one the northwest channel. And that is flag shown as A23 through A29. And then the middle part is the central channel, and that's shown as down in this area, down in here. And then the third part of that intermittent stream is the second pipe system. There's 2 pipes that run underneath the driveway. One's connected to the central stream, if you will, and the third part is a southeast channel, which is basically the pipe up here. And there are flags that go along with that. It should be noted that all the flags that are shown for the intermittent streams are bank flags. So those are top of bank flags, and they do fall within the BVW that's associated with that as well. And the plan does show, you know, like I said, 50-foot and 100-foot buffer zones for BVW, but it also shows the riparian, the 100-foot and the 200-foot riparian zones as they apply to those intermittent streams. Shown in blue behind the first building they get to on the southern side here, there is a potential vernal pool, and those were flagged in the field with blue flags, and those were also flagged at mean high water. Some of the flags did not show up on the plan, but they are shown as PVP, potential vernal pool number 1 through 34, which is kind of on the northern side, if you will. And you can see the jogs in the vernal pool area, potential vernal pool area. And then when it reaches towards the southern part down in this area, it meets up with the BVW, and they're basically the same flags, if you will, from A84 to A89 down on, excuse me, on the southern side. So that's the potential vernal pool, which is shown in blue, as I said. And then we also have a FEMA flood zone on the site, located in generally the same area as the potential vernal pool in the back of the building. That's shown as yellow, and I apologize, the yellow doesn't show up that great, but you can almost see it behind the building. Like I said, on the northern side, it's pretty close to the vernal pool. On the southern side, it does extend a little bit to the south and goes over that property line a little bit. So the majority of the site is in a flood zone X, but of course this area behind the building is in a flood zone A. I should also note that the site, the property is in a natural heritage and endangered species area, and for priority habitat rare species, it's PH 871, and for the rare wildlife, it's EH 705. And we are also in an ACEC, just to round out the whole caveat of all these resource areas, the Canoe River area of critical environmental concern. But there are no certified vernal pools on the property. There's another potential vernal pool located to the east, which is off of our site, but that's about 300 feet from the boundary. So that's, it's just there really for reference. So that's a lot to digest in one quick discussion, but I'd like to answer any questions that you may have at this point.
And Stefan, I want you to know that I wrote the staff report on this if you want me to give you more details.
Sure, Scott, I'm just going to grab control for a sec here because I wanted to pull up the staff report. And then, Andrew, do you want to just talk about the type 1 intermittent stream and how we're going to be looking for some bank information on that?
Right. So Claire Hogelboom actually from LEC actually did the flagging and submitted a wetlands report as part of the ANRAD. And I went out and evaluated the line. I will be honest, I was out there last Wednesday. I went as far as the top of the second, the northern end of the second tennis building, and then over to the parking area. So I didn't see the far northern line, but I have great confidence in her work, and found that the line below, between the tennis buildings and Chestnut Street, was very consistent with where I would have put it. So we do have the potential vernal pool flagged as a mean high water line. In this particular case, the border of the potential vernal pool is the edge of the disturbed area if it was disturbed prior to 2005, which in this case is true. So you'll see a blue line over near the bordering vegetated wetland line. The actual BVW, the actual potential vernal pool line is not shown, but you can visualize it because you can see the tree line is very close. So we do need to revise the plan. I would recommend you revise the plan to identify the blue line as the mean high water line, and the potential vernal pool line is the tree line, and that'll reflect a little different buffer zone, just a little bit farther into the site than the vegetated wetland. Presently, he doesn't have the flags shown for the entire potential vernal pool. He shows the flags only as it's closest to the building, and then the rest of the line is approximate. If that's okay with you, we'll just identify those flags. We'll just confirm the BVW line relative to the closest flags and not the entire line. That's a call on your part. The intermittent streams are, as Scott said, there are three. The one at the northern end of the property that's actually off the property is very easy to see on the site and on the plan, because it's a little spur coming into the BVW. But the intermittent stream across Chestnut Street, if you can zoom, you can see there's two purple lines that represent culverts down by Chestnut. Yeah, there's the little spur of the intermittent stream. She identified that as a type 3, and that seemed perfectly fine with me. Over here, well, whatever, however she identified it, I didn't have any problem with it. But question number or paragraph number 9 in the staff report, she has a type 1 in the southwest side of the drive, and she identified flag numbers that aren't shown on the site plan. I'm not surprised, because it's a 60-foot scale and there's a lot of flagging in here, but we don't have a top of bank to identify the channel. It is within all of this BVW. On this plan, you can see type 1 intermittent stream is actually a label to BVW flags according to her report. So we don't have the location accurately identified for an ANRAD. Your choice, you can say that it is embedded within the BVW, or you can ask that he revise the plan to blow up on a second sheet this area from the BVW down to this pipe across Chestnut Street, and then he'll be able to pick up the flags for the intermittent stream. There's a type 1 there and a type 3 according to her. I think that the stream that is closer to, there you go, the stream that is closer to Chestnut Street is identified here as a type 1. That's the stream that I observed had the most flow in it. The northern culvert was a secondary channel to the main channel. So when she called, type 1 and a type 3, that made sense to me.
Well, so I guess to comment on that, I think, we're doing an ANRAD for a reason, right? Because there's going to be some kind of site work or some change to the property proposed. And I think we're going to want the granularity of the true wetland and stream boundaries and everything like that. So, I think, whether they, take this property and divide it up into, several sections and detail those out on different sheets, I feel like we're going to want to see the granularity of all the wetland flags that were put out there.
I understand exactly what you're saying, and the section where there's a hook on the eastern side where the BVW comes in is that right there that has value, and the whole potential vernal pool behind the second large tennis building that has value.
Yeah, so I think we'll just want to see, as much
and the intermittent
detail
streams.
as we can.
The intermittent streams from the BVW, training the BVW and going across the drive and then into that RCP. It's hard to pick up.
Do we have a scale standard for ANRAD's drawings?
No, it's usual scale is 40, and I think you'd probably have to blow the Scott. You think maybe a 20 scale or a 30 scale to pick up the streams?
I could do a blow-ups of certain areas to get more on there if that's what you guys wanted.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, and I think it would just be helpful for whatever the projects end up being down the road too. That way we can just go back to it and less vagueness.
So I'm recommending. I'm recommending in my item number 13 that he show the flagging of the stream banks in the A series and of the streams within the A series and B series, especially near the drive, and that he show the potential vernal pool boundary. I should comment that LEC did acknowledge that this is a certifiable vernal pool. She didn't do the biology on the, because she was there in the fall, but she did say that it had the physical characteristics to be a certifiable vernal pool. Okay. And that this is a type, the FEMA flood zone A is called a bordering vegetated wetland in wetland terms, and it's on the firm map. There's no elevation. So I would not recommend that you make a determination on bordering land subject to flooding, nor is Holgren asking that you do. But you should identify that as a condition of a future filing, that we get a better handle on the extent of flooding using the citation in the state regs for doing that.
Okay, Scott, do you have a topo layer that you could add on here, or did you have that data, or?
I don't have topography plotted at this point. We have points with elevations on them, but I haven't done a topo map, if you will.
Okay, I guess maybe if you could add what you have, even if it's just points. I don't know, does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, it's a relatively flat site, but you will see that if you go to the site, the potential the bordering vegetated wetland along the western side from Chestnut up behind the buildings is really easy to find. It's where they stop manicuring the grass and they start breaking their leaves. And so you'll see a little bit of a slope from the leaf pile going into the BVW. And we're talking years of doing that. So it's like the edge. In the back of the building, the back of the first long tennis building is kind of an old field.
Okay. All right. So we got
Flat.
7:55. Let's go through this here. Rory, you have anything to add?
No, I think, we've identified the additional details we need on this in order to move forward.
Great. Carol?
Agreed with Rory.
Michael?
Agreed. Yeah, definitely like to see the topo done for that for sure.
John?
Nothing additional to add.
Great. Scott, would you like to continue? I mean, our next meeting's next week. And then after that, what is it, the 27th?
27th. 27th is a lot lighter.
What's that?
27th is a lot lighter agenda.
Yeah, I'm not even sure we'll be able to get all this done in a week to get things, uploaded.
Yeah, I figured a week would be like super tight. So we'll continue to the 27th. That's okay. That's okay with you?
That's fine.
Okay, great. All right. So any public comments on 153 Chestnut Street? Seeing none. Motion to continue 153 Chestnut Street to April 27th.
Lundin, second.
All those in favor?
Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Catino, aye. All right. Thank you, Scott, for that one. And
Thank you very much.
We are back on time. It is 7:57.
Great. So we have Kristen Coe in the attendees room. Is that for 7 Glen?
Yes.
Great. I don't know if she wants to talk at all. Okay, 7 Glen Road. Let me pull that up. For 320 plan, Scott?
I'm sorry?
The 4320 plan?
Yes.
All right, let's get the stuff. Request letter. Okay, great. All right, Scott, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself for the record again and then taking us through the updates, please.
Sure. Again, for the record, my name is Scott Rogers, JK Holmgren Engineering. And before you tonight is a project on 7 Glen Road. I'm sorry, it's actually Glen Road Extension. We did receive comments from Andrea on the staff report, and we made several changes, I would call improvements to the plan. We added some roadway details, which detailed the new driveway that's being basically put in roughly the same location as the existing driveway. There are some changes to the location, pulling away from the existing wetlands.
Is that on sheet 2,
We added
Scott?
some detail to grading on the north side of the new driveway, and we super elevated the driveway now. So in the existing condition, that driveway basically sheets off towards the wetland on the southern side, but we've modified that so the roadway is super elevated to pitch towards the north, and we've created a swale on the northern side, which discharges to a bioretention area where where she's pointing to right now. We also added some additional siltation barriers, some additional erosion control barriers on the southern side of the proposed driveway that wasn't there before. We added a stockpile area to the plan, which is shown in between basically the existing house on 7 Glen Road and the proposed driveway and septic for the new house. We've also shown on the plan a seed mix, which indicates type of grass seed we're using. And we did label that obviously most of the disturbed area will be, hydroseeded with that grass seed mix. We've added some additional setbacks to the plan, which show some clear dimension as to where the proposed house would lie in relation to both the property line and the existing bordering vegetated wetland there. So that's southeastern corners about 84 feet to the bordering vegetated wetland. You can see that dimension on there as well. And then we added some notes that clarified the limit of work, which is basically the edge of the, the silt sock, if you will. So just to clarify and to summarize, we did pull all the septic system areas outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. We have shifted the house as far as we possibly can towards the west, pulling it away from the wetland areas and getting it as close to the roadway as we can, keeping in mind that we do have a septic system in the front yard, which is pretty much at a minimum dimension from the street. And then the septic system and the septic tank is a minimum dimension from the house. So the house is as close as we can get it away from the wetlands. And of course, by doing all those things, we've moved the limit of work further out of the buffer zone, and we've decreased the amount of disturbance overall in the plan. So that was a summary of all the changes that we made, which I think are, a good improvement to what was there before, which I thought was a pretty good plan, but the changes we made were more improvements, bigger improvements to the last plan that you guys saw.
Would you mind zooming in on the road area where it intersects with the existing cul-de-sac? This is a section of wetland that wasn't shown on the original plan, but you guys may recall from your ANRAD days.
Mm-hmm.
The existing drive you can see in gray fade out, and so you have you might be able to tell the road got the new road when reconstructed will get pushed off center away.
Oh, right, yeah, because you were talking before that they had their easement or whatnot for the driveway, and they were able to shift it over.
Is that true, Scott?
Yeah, that is true. You can see right where it says Glen Road, up at the cul-de-sac there, right below that, there's some wording that says existing driveway.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I'm not sure the exact dimension that we pushed it over, but I'm gonna guess probably between 6 and 10 feet in some areas, so.
Great. Let me just take a look at the report. This was revised. Okay, so this was updated March 24th, but then we received the plans after that, correct, Andrea?
Yeah, this plan included the road cross section. I think it's off the screen, but it shows the road cross section that we needed to see, and it added a limit of work down by the drive. Those were the things that I had commented on when I wrote this. He also does have a waiver to work within 50 foot of the wetland, and that is at the drive.
Right.
And so he did provide a waiver request, but in terms of public interest, he hasn't identified anything to speak to the public interest aspect of the waiver. But he gave us this is an alternative layout by pushing the driveway over, and he gave us stormwater, which was requested by the planning board, but is now shown on the plan. And that's an improvement from what was originally proposed through the planning board.
Okay. Rory, any comments, questions?
So I think that the challenge, I think we've, from my perspective, in looking at the newest plan, I think it's a much better plan than what we originally proposed. The biggest challenge that we have here, and I'm struggling with it, is the waiver request. We've got they're improving the driveway, which is essentially a driveway. It's now going to be an extension of the roadway, but as narrow as it possibly can be. It doesn't meet the technical requirements of a waiver request in as much as there isn't a public interest. But we come into this challenge for this public interest issue all the time. This one is particularly troubling to me because I know we've got a better situation than what is there. You know, it's better for the wetland resource. It's, you know, that driveway is crumbling and falling apart as it is. So I really struggle with having this, you know, elevated level for a waiver request on something as simple as repairing a driveway and moving it over away from the wetland. It's a real challenge to me. And I really don't even know what to do with it, to be honest.
I don't know if this is the answer you're looking for, and I'm not suggesting it's an answer, but there's no drainage on the existing road.
Right, and so we have the bioretention area now, and
Yeah, but what I'm saying is inside that teardrop off the site, there's a little bit of an island. If you wanted, if you were looking for more public interest, I would look along the edge of the existing road by the C series wetland.
well, I don't know, Rory. Are you like? I think I agree with your stance, Rory, and it's like, does improving the overall situation address the public interest?
Unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, is it enough to say that he's improving his property? Essentially, is that enough? You know, in the public interest comes into play, meaning it's not supposed to just improve their property.
Right.
You know, I think Andrea is suggesting that maybe on the cul-de-sac we have them install maybe a storm drain or something. I don't know what entirely she's suggesting, to sort of say, okay, well, we're improving the public roadway at that point. You know, perhaps that's the answer to this. I also don't want to burden the homeowner in any extreme manner here, or the landowner. Right. But I am trying to be fair to every other applicant that comes in front of us, where we impose the public interest requirement on them.
Right.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Is that Scott?
So I think you guys have talked about it. You know, you have a situation where you have an existing driveway that basically is within maybe 10 feet of an existing wetland area that pitches towards the wetland area, there's no drainage associated with it. It's, you know, it's not being maintained. So the applicant is going ahead and they're putting in a driveway, but they're shifting it over, you know, as much as they possibly can. They're adding drainage. They're super elevating it, so the driveway is not pitching towards the wetland, which is a major existing faux pas in my opinion. So now they're pitching it away from the existing wetland towards a swale. That swale discharges to a bioretention area. So they're doing a lot to improve the existing roadway, but also improve the wetland system. So I think, in my opinion, they're doing a lot to improve a situation that's terrible now. And that is in the public interest by doing what they're doing.
One thing, thank you, Scott. One thing that would help me is if it could be articulated how this plan stacks up against the bullet points of the interests of the regulations and bylaw.
I couldn't really hear it. Really couldn't hear it.
So I think what she's saying is that maybe, you know, point by point, you know, address the 50322B, you know, where you have the burden of proof regarding these 3 points about no practical conditions or alternatives, the proposed work and required mitigation measures will have no significant adverse effects upon any of the bylaw wetland values, and the project provides benefits in the public interest as defined by the regulation.
Yeah, because to that point, typically with the waiver request, we do see it kind of addressed as each point, and for the alternatives, you have the old plan versus the new plan. So you've got your alternatives, you've got your mitigation, and if you want to make your argument about the roadway and how those points you just made, in your opinion, address the public interest, that might that might help. But we do kind of we do need, I think, a more kind of structured waiver request. I think the plan itself, looks great. It addressed all of our major concerns from the previous plan. So I think from that perspective, I'm good with the plan itself. And I think we just need to tighten up the waiver request a little bit. And again, this is in sticking with the regulations and what we have to work with, and also in fairness to folks who have been before us that we've had to impose all these the regulations and the rules on, just to make sure we're being fair to everyone.
Another thing you can you've asked of others is restoration of the buffer zone. So I don't know if you want to look at there's not a lot of distance there at the reconstructed roadway
Up here.
but maybe there's some buffer zone restoration between the C series and the B series wetland. Carol, I don't know if you can speak to that, or
You're talking about like in this area here, Andrea?
Yep. Sue, look at you. And then even go just a tiny bit around the curve, right in through.
Right. Well,
Or are you talking about this curve, Andrea?
I was talking about that curve, but then do you see wetland flag B3 and B4? Right in through there. I think you're outside the tree line there. Yeah, right in through there.
Right in here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So there's like kind of this whole area that could be.
right. Thank you, Andrea. I would like to, I appreciate you suggesting that. I would like to see some numbers about the success of mitigation efforts.
You also can look on the other side of the street. And yes, the mitigation restoration area is much easier to be successful when you're outside of a wetland, because you have a broader group of plants that can be successful in that area. They're not beholden on the hydrology. So it's normal restoration standards, as opposed to getting the hydrology and the topography correct. And soils.
So this is my challenge on this thing, is that this is the rabbit hole that we tend to sort of go down as we do this, is we start to imagine what we can suggest to the applicant, which isn't necessarily our place to do so, but we sort of go down this rabbit hole of suggesting things that are more complicated than perhaps it's related to the project itself, the impact of this issue.
Yeah.
And that's my concern. I agree with Carol. It's a grand idea. I just think that it's a little bit more complicated than I would have imagined. The real question is, if repairing that driveway had come into us, is it, it's almost like it's so close to the buffer, but any other ways it comes in as an RDA, and
Right.
It's like, and we'd approve it in a heartbeat. But
That's a good point, Rory.
and I know we're sort of stuck with what we have here, and we know we're improving the situation.
Yeah.
They were also pretty sensitive in their relocation of the proposed house where there was no waiver request.
Yeah, yes, I think the applicant has been quite responsive to our concerns and even with the driveway, they were responsive to our concerns and have done a good job of addressing and making the situation better.
All right, we're at 8:15, so we're running over a little bit. I think I agree with you, Rory. Especially, you know, to your point, if the driveway just came into us as an RDA, yeah, we'd be like, yes, that's a great improvement over what was there. But because it came in as a notice of intent, that kicked in the waiver, right?
Yeah.
I think if we get the waiver request cleaned up and you know, just address each of the items within the waiver requirements, I think I'll be comfortable with it.
Yeah, just, I mean, Scott, my recommendation to your applicant and yourself is to just put the public interest as clearly as possible in the waiver request, and have it be, and have it, you know, be as strong a possible argument as you can, so that we can, you know, determine whether or not that's sufficient for what is required of the waiver request.
Yeah, I'd agree. But yeah, I think the plan itself looks great, and I think you guys did an awesome job working around our concerns, and want to thank you guys for working around our concerns there. Rory, did you have anything else to add to the plan itself?
No, everything else is fine. Thanks.
Great, Carol.
Right. I would add, distracted by that's my dog. Another perspective on this is to get some information about not only the immediate impacts of this plan, but let's look to the future, 50 years from now, 100 years from now. That kind of perspective would be helpful for me also.
With regards to the driveway, or?
The entire plan.
Well, I don't know. We haven't asked anybody of that, so I don't know what you'd be looking for specifically.
Right. Well, we do have something in our master plan about, I don't know if we have it in our regulations, about looking out for climate readiness.
Oh,
So we haven't even like worked that into our regs yet. It's something on our agenda.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we haven't figured out how to like address that with projects yet. And I don't want to do it. I don't think it would be appropriate to do like an not experiment, but you know, a draft run of trying to do that without having our deliberations about how we think we should address it first.
Of course. Thank you.
I think you make a great point, and I think that's something we're going to have to look to. But I think we have to figure that out kind of separately, and then figure out how we work that into the regulations so that applicants can work that into their projects. Although
to Rory's point, having a waiver request spoke to climate readiness would be more than the usual project.
Yeah, but if we're just putting it in there to have the words in there without knowing what we're specifically looking for, and like
it's localized flooding and more storms that are bigger and more frequent.
I guess if you want to keep it generic and you feel like working on a waiver request couldn't hurt, but I would be
opposed to that.
Yeah, I don't want to go. I don't think we should necessarily go down that rabbit hole before we have our discussions.
I think it's or beyond what's I think it's absolutely something. I've raised the issue for about probably close to a year now about adding this to our regulations. So that I'm behind the concept of it. I think in this case it would be unduly burdensome to the applicant.
Yeah, I agree.
That's just my opinion. I'm one of 5. So.
Okay. Anything else, Carol?
No, thank you.
Okay, Michael?
No, I agree with Rory. I think they've done a really good job, and I think there's no more point of hassling them. So.
Okay, John?
Overall improvement from last time, so I like what I see.
Great. So
Stefan,
Scott.
in the attendees is the applicant.
Oh, hey.
I don't know if she wants to speak or not. Jeanette,
Let's
Ty.
see. Jeanette, I'll click on it so you can talk if you want to. I don't know if you wanted to speak up, Jeanette. Unmute. Oh, maybe not. Scott, do you think you could update the waiver request for Monday?
Yeah, so if I'm hearing you guys right, we have the waiver request and we have a little bit of buffer zone enhancement or buffer zone restoration to look at.
I think you can just update the waiver request and be as specific as you can.
Okay.
With regards to the public interest and kind of all those points that you laid out verbally here for us tonight.
Okay.
Let me see. Jeanette, I'm going to promote you over to panelist so it's just easier for you to speak and such. And apologies. Let's see. All right. Hi, Jeanette. Can you hear us? I saw she raised her hand. Or maybe Kristen. I don't know if you're with Jeanette.
Yep, I'm here. I'm seeing her microphone muted though. We're not in the same spot.
Oh, okay. All right, I've got her unmuted right now.
I don't
Oh,
know.
I see you, Jeanette. Yeah, she's muted. Unmute.
Keep going mute and
Again.
then she must be unable to speak. But I think we're fine with what's been decided as long as, you know, the plan looks good to everybody and we can just go ahead and put some more information around it. Then I think, you know, we're feeling good about it.
Great.
There we go. I don't know. Can you all hear me?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
There you go. No, thank you. I was trying to just speak, but yeah, we've been working with, you know, Holmgren Engineering on trying to address the concerns of the committee. And, you know, we're down to kind of a narrow window on where the house can actually be. This is an existing road and the water, you know, has flowed this way for many years. So we're trying to accommodate everyone's requests, but I think we're happy with where it's at here. And we'll try to, I know earlier there was a description of all the waivers that we were requesting. So I don't know if that older version of that document fits now that some of the waivers are being looked at more closely.
Was that in the planning board review or is that in this one?
It was part of the planning board review now that I think of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There is a document and we did kind of lay out a description, but we're happy to, you know, provide the information that you're looking for. If that particular description doesn't work.
If you know, I think Scott has an idea of what we're looking for, and Scott, we can provide examples of you know, just the waiver requests that we've received before that kind of just outlines everything. But you kind of just like grab the paragraph about the waiver request from the regs, and it has the various items you have to address, and you kind of just you know boom for alternatives, and we did this for mitigation, we did this for public interest, we did this, and it should come out nice and clean.
Okay.
Great. Scott, do you think you could have that for next Monday? Because we do have another meeting on the 13th. That way we can kind of get you guys just wrapped up.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Andrew, we can get them on the agenda for the 13th, I'm assuming?
Yes, it hasn't been finalized.
Okay, perfect. All right, so if you guys are good, we'll continue this to next Monday, and then hopefully we'll just, you know, wrap it up then.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah.
Motion to continue 7 Glen Road to Monday, April 13th.
Caulfield, second.
All those in favor?
Caulfield's aye.
Undine, aye?
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Cautino, aye. All right, great. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Have a great night.
You too.
So now you're demoting those people who are part of that condition. Okay, certificates of compliance.
Okay. Oakleaf Lane.
18, okay, 16 Oakleaf Lane is, that is an older subdivision known as Lone Oaks. In the day, when this was approved back in 2001, the entire subdivision and all of its lots were included in the order. This particular lot is identified on the order conditions as Lot 2, and the house and the lot is outside of your jurisdiction. The perpetual conditions of the order, I don't think apply to this project, unless you want, because permanent markers don't apply. The deed restriction on filling wetlands doesn't apply. If limits on the use of herbicides and fertilizers and pesticides near wetland area, you're not near the wetland area. And 37 to 41 is stormwater management, and there are no drainage structures on this property, and the street has been taken over by the public. So I recommend you issue a partial cert, since no work on the lot is subject to the state or local regulations. I would have, normally we could have done a letter of clarification, but the original, we don't have any order, we don't have any certificate of compliance for the roadway itself.
I make a motion to issue a partial certificate of compliance for 16 Oakleaf Lane.
Catino, second. All those in favor?
Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Catino, aye. All right. 5 Calvin Road.
Calvin Road was a septic upgrade that the majority of the board heard back in October of 2019. The report prepared by Claire from LEC shows the photographs. I guess it doesn't show the photographs. I thought it showed.
No, it does.
Okay. It's up by Roach Brothers and the new wagging dog.
Wagging tail.
Wagging tail, yeah, wagging tail project. It is been that there are no the road, the soil is all the grades are all in place, but the vegetation hasn't really taken over yet, and permanent markers haven't been installed along the fence line. But there you go. They did put that fence line in, which we saw remnants of during the review, and it's it's at the limit of work, and it's a really good protection from the it's a really good protection for the wetland. So it isn't stabilized, but it's also has a very limited chance of there being any erosion going into the wetland because of the fence line. So you may consider issuing just a partial cert until he completes the stabilization of the vegetation and puts in the medallions. If you do go to a final cert, you want as a permanent perpetual condition, no dumping in the wetland, and absolutely no work beyond the stockade fence, which is physically difficult to get to anyway. So it's just
I'm thinking partial cert.
So I'm wondering, why are we even considering that? To be quite honest, we have no certification of the curtain drain that we instructed them to do. There's no permanent markers.
Oh.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're absolutely right.
It's not just the stabilization. There's some basic things here that were part of this project that they're putting this forth to us without having.
You're absolutely right. That curtain drain was a significant difference. What they did was put in, instead of having a slope, they put in this retaining wall,
Which was part of the
same purpose.
It was part of the original filing, wasn't it?
I remember it having a slope. Am I wrong?
There was a slope in the back, but there was a retaining wall in the front.
I'm not seeing any documents.
Here you go. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
So the retaining wall is right here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And
And
we
then
had
it
said
slopes in the back.
a curtain drain basically across. Well,
Right.
hang on, since I can draw.
I did ask her if she saw any gravel on the ground to.
I think we said a
find
retaining
any-
curtain drain like there.
Right. I asked her if she saw any gravel on the ground to identify where the drain would have been, and she didn't see it.
Okay, yeah. So good point, Rory. So
Score.
oh, okay, erase. So do we just deny for now until they can provide us some more proof of all that?
Oh, we
And
did,
Partial
did they-
certification and have them refile.
I don't, do we continue it or before we deny it to give them an opportunity?
Oh, yeah.
I would give him a partial certification for the work that he did do, and have him come and have him refile for the work he didn't do. He won't be able to see, it'll.
Yeah, but are they looking for a partial cert so they can sell it? And then if they didn't do the curtain drain, are they just not going to do it?
Well, if it's only a partial cert, it's going to hold up it'll show up as not being fully compliant. I don't know, John, do you have any opinion on this?
I mean, my thought would be to reach out to the applicant and just let them know what the status is and ask them if you think it's going to get done. And if not, that would be my feeling.
Yeah, he's had this the whole time. He's had this for like 2 weeks, and I didn't call him, but he didn't call me either. So I can certainly do that. I can certainly reach out to him.
So let's continue it to next week and see if we get some answers between now and then.
Okay.
Second, Caulfield's second.
All those in favor?
Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Catino, aye. All right, great. 831 Washington Street.
831 is a septic upgrade from 1999.
Whoa.
A certificate of compliance, I'm sure it was compliant at the time. A certificate of compliance was issued in 2007, and they didn't acknowledge any problem at the site at the time. And in the certificate of compliance request that we received, he did give us the Board of Health certificate saying it was done in compliance. So I recommend that you finish off this guy's paperwork with no conditions in perpetuity. 2 reference conditions in perpetuity. Maintain the drainage culverts and remove any obstructions to water flowage within the drainage culvert.
I make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance with the 2 referenced perpetual conditions.
Second, Catino second.
Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Okay, we are back on track. It is
Cautino aye on that.
Catino, aye.
Keeping you straight there, Keith.
okay. 418 Bay Road. This was a written determination, a request for determination that was issued in 2007. I think Rory and Stefan might have both been here, March 23rd of 2017, one of my first hearings with the board. We issued a partial certificate of compliance because the determination of applicability required a certificate of compliance.
Wow.
I know, they did that a lot in those days.
I was not on the board just when you handled this first.
So the reason the partial cert was issued is because we wanted to do enforcement on them. And they were because a 50-foot buffer zone of restoration was not addressed. So they put an escrow agreement together in which the seller hired Sean Flynn's landscaping services to reconstruct the buffer zone, to remove old big manure piles of composted manure from the active horse barn on the property. And I can tell you that 3 years later, the trees couldn't be happier. Only he put in 24, I think. No, he put in 33. And only 2 didn't make it. And they were good sized, legitimate trees, Carol. And so I think it's been very successfully monitored, and I've had opportunities over the past years to speak with the new owners, and they reconstructed the fence to act as a buffer zone, to act as a permanent marker, and they're respecting the trees and leaving the area alone. So I recommend a full certificate of compliance for a request for determination of applicability. Words I never thought I would say.
Great, I'm on board. Motion?
This is a first for me, by the way.
Yeah. It's true.
Continuation of limit the use of fertilizers, pesticides.
Oh, Roy, you're breaking up.
Oh, the limit of the use of the fertilizers, I think that might have been the one above that. That might have been, are you on 418 Bay Road, staff report? Oh, I did say, sorry, my mistake. I don't know, if you want to, yeah, go ahead, condition it, my mistake. I'm still flabbergasted that it's a request for determination.
Rory, I think you're on mute, Rory.
Yes, I froze here for a moment.
Oh, there you are. He's back.
Froze again.
Put you in timeout.
So that motion will have to be repeated.
Is he still frozen?
Okay.
Yep, he's frozen.
Yeah, he's frozen.
I was like, or is he just sitting very still? All right, I can actually see him moving now.
Rory, you care to try again?
I am here.
Yep.
There we go.
I need a motion.
Yeah, I made a motion to issue a certificate of compliance with the continuation of the condition to limit the use of fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides within the buffer zone.
Tino, second.
Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady, aye.
Thomas, aye.
Catino, aye.
So before this meeting breaks up, I wanted to say congratulations. You guys did a fantastic job in this meeting, and it really went smooth. When these times, like next on the 13th, when the times are removed from the meeting, I think it's just going to flow really, really well. So congrats, guys.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Just over 2 hours for all that. Not bad.
That's not bad. Not bad at all.
I'm with Rory. We should do all of these remote.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Just like everything, every job and everything is better remote.
It is.
I had to do 3 practice sessions.
I had to do 4.
No.
I've got to text. I have to text Jason Daniels when the meeting is over. So let me know when you guys are. Well, I guess you guys have to make a motion to adjourn, don't you?
Very true.
Well, thank you, Keith and Andrea, for creating this space and testing it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for the hard work.
Yeah, that was really awesome.
Boards can go forward with remote meetings. It's kind of exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice. Feel better that we're not holding people's lives up from our perspective.
Really, it's.
The next week is going to be very different, though. This week we had routine projects
Yeah, next week we've got some heavy hitters.
But it's just going to be the same discussion. I mean, it's going to be longer discussion, but it's going to be just like sitting in the boardroom.
Yep.
This is really great.
Yep, very good. All right, everybody. Anything else anybody wants to add?
I'm good.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Lundin,
Caulfield, second.
All's in favor?
Caulfield's aye.
Lundin, aye.
Spady eye.
Thomas, I.
Catino, aye. Peace out.
Take care, everybody.
Later, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Great
guys.
Stay
job.
safe, everyone.
Somebody text Jason.